I just want to start off with a quick thought here. It's about rhythm and timing. So today's music, everything is on the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. It's basically on perfect timing is what I'm saying. I'm not saying like the rhythm is, the snares on 2 or bass drums on 1, snares on 2, blah blah blah. I'm saying everything seems like it's an exact time. So it sounds very mechanical. Except for a few acts, a few bands are out there and they're a little bit looser, a few of the rock bands, but the majority of the stuff I've heard, which again has its place. But the debate has been up there since I first got interested in recording music, as to whether or not you should play, like you should use a metronome, and then, does it lose its feel? Does it not lose its feel as far as the music goes? Playing exactly on the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. You play around it, you use it as a reference, as a guide. And the way that I was always taught was you should play the metronome because it is, being in time is still having feel. Like that is your feel, is the time itself. I used to believe that quite a bit, but I don't anymore. Because if you take a human being and you ask them to play, they're not going to play exactly 120 beats per minute through the whole song if that's what they start out at. At least 99.9% of the drummers aren't. Matt Cameron of Pearl Jam and Soundgarden might be able to do that. I know he's really good naturally at playing exactly in time. But the majority of drummers don't play like that. And the majority of the songs that are sampled, and I'm talking about James Brown here, the most sampled musician in history, his drummers didn't use a metronome. And they even talked openly about it. I remember reading, and I believe it was Modern Drummer. I think the drummer's name was, well, there was two, actually. There was two drummers that he used. One of them seems like his name was Jabbo or something like that. But he talked about not playing exactly in 130 beats per minute the whole song. He goes, I could play around 130 to 132 beats in most of the songs, meaning I would play pretty close to being in exact time, but not quite. And obviously, James Brown's music is sampled because it has so much feel to it. The rhythm is so good. I mean, it's in all types of music, not just rap, not just hip hop, but in all types of music. They've looped and used his percussion, his breakdowns, his beats, his drummers' breakdowns, beats, percussion, all of that stuff. So, and also think about this. When you're playing a song and the emotion starts to get higher, the intensity starts to get a little bit higher, and you're playing, let's say, 120 beats per minute, when you hit that chorus, if it happens to go up 1 or 2 beats more per minute, is anybody going to notice? Is the listener going to notice and goes, oh my God, that's out of time. They were playing 120 beats per minute. Now they're playing 122 beats per minute. I don't think anyone's really going to notice. So I think it would actually help lift the song up if you go a beat or 2 higher. I know that's crazy, especially in today's age. I'm sure every engineer and every drum teacher would like to tell me how wrong I am and how stupid of a thought that is. But since I don't really care about being a part of inside the box thinking, I think it helps lift the song. And before, when bands used to play without metronomes, a lot of the 70s bands, I know some did, but a lot of them didn't. And even into the 80s, some of the rock bands, in fact, quite a few rock bands didn't use it. Believe it or not, even U2 did not use a metronome on every song in the late 80s. I know some of the songs they did, but I know some of the songs they didn't. They did it off feel. And if you do give that extra oomph in the chorus, or that extra little drop in the bridge, or vice versa, it does make the song sound really interesting. I get the place and the argument for the metronome. You want everyone to be together. You want the song to not drag. I get it, and obviously if you're playing with loops or you're playing with keyboards or you're playing with pre-recorded tracks, you need a metronome. I totally get that. But I'm saying if you're not playing with all that stuff, which is very hard to find nowadays, especially live. Obviously on the radio, everybody plays with extra tracks. But, you need the metronome. But I'm just saying when it's just 2 or 3, 4, maybe 5 guys up there that don't have anything to play to except each other, it's nice to hear somebody that doesn't use a metronome, because the music, I think, does sound a little bit better. It's a little looser, I'll give it that usually, but it does seem to have a little bit better flow or rhythm to it. And again, my reference would be the James Brown era, or a lot of the 70s and 80s rock bands. So if you think that I'm crazy, go back and see if the bands you liked that were in the 70s or that were in the 80s, and if they're electronic, obviously they're using something. They're using something computer generated. But if it's a rock band or an acoustic setup, see if they're using metronomes. I know on the albums they probably did, but I'm saying live, see if they did. If they didn't have to play to anything that was pre-recorded or keyboards or whatever, any loops, see if they played to anything, or if they used any type of metronome to play when they played with each other. I think you'll find a lot of them didn't, and they sounded great. Some of the best recordings, I think, came out of not using metronomes. And I'm not talking about just for sound quality, but I'm talking about feel. Again, James Brown, and then, a lot of Led Zeppelin, when they weren't in their heavy drug use. I don't think John Bonham was there, listening to a click track. So I would say, it has its place. Metronomes have their place, but sometimes their place is to be left at home. Nothing wrong with somebody getting up there that can play in time, as far as keeping a beat, keeping the rhythm, keeping the relative time the same, getting up there with the rest of the guys, a drummer that can do that, and then leading the rest of the band throughout the song on his ear alone, on his own playing alone. I think that's the way it used to be, and I think that's the way for the most part it should be, unless they're playing with pre-recorded tracks, loops, keyboards, so forth.